What is your experience of being an entrepreneur?
Yeah.
The worst things about it, you are constantly being pitched
Ah.
everything by everyone. Like, it's as simple as like meeting somebody for like a quick lunch.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden it turns into a sales pitch. I'm like, dude,
Even
I just thought I'm getting
even
lunch.
as somebody who is pitching, okay, I get pitched. I get pitched. So people come to me, they're like, hey, we have this crazy course, this crazy class of very focused people. And I'm like, okay, good for you, man. Welcome to the Hawk Podcast. We have Ali and we have Ali as well. They are the owners of VRAM, which is a tutoring company. So I'll let you guys introduce yourselves. How are you guys?
We are good. Thank you for having us, Ibrahim.
Of course. You?
All right. Thank you.
Of course, great. So I've been working with you guys for quite a while, and I must say, I really do love your brand. I love everything you guys do and everything you guys stand for. What made you really start VRAM? What was kind of your inspiration?
Well, VRAM was essentially started as a tutoring website, and then it scaled to becoming a full tutoring business. We initially launched the site to be a gateway where students can find tutors during the midst of the COVID-19 pandemic. And then as we saw that this is something valuable, we're seeing scalability, we're seeing all different opportunities, we decided to go full force and launching it into a full business. Essentially went from a tutoring website to an educational technology company. And this has been running and scaling for the last 2.5 years.
Okay, amazing. And what about you, Ali? What was kind of your inspiration? Ali 2.0.
So, Ali 2.0. By the way, he usually goes just by Ali. I go by AJ.
You go by AJ, okay.
Make it easier on everyone.
We'll do AJ.
I'll sacrifice my naming rights to myself. Inspiration behind VRAM. Very good question. So I joined a little bit later. Ali started the company in 2020. I started about a year and some change after that.
Okay.
I've known Ali before the company, before he started VRAM. Really loved the idea of a tutoring company that's not a marketplace.
Okay.
Most of what I used, I don't know about you, but most of what I used as tutoring providers throughout high schools, maybe not high school. I don't think companies and online was as big back then. Yeah, college.
Yeah.
There were marketplaces. You go and hey, I have a specific question that I want help with, and you go to a marketplace and you find someone to help you with that. And along with, like college provided tutors when you have a tutoring center.
Okay.
What we were trying to build and what Ali had the vision to build is connecting the parent, the student, the teacher, and the school all together.
Okay.
That was at the time when, VRAM was just starting to scale and we're starting getting more and more users. So I came on board about a year and some change ago.
Okay.
To help build the product plan and the business plan as a whole in order to be more than just tutoring, right? We want to start bringing in the tools and the processes and the structures and all.
Of course.
To help make it a full cycle for the student, for the parent, for the teachers, and essentially the tutors. So the difference between we tried very hard to not become a marketplace, because from our experience, my experience, Ali's experience, when we go to a marketplace, everybody looks qualified. Everybody looks like, you have 1,000 calculus tutors with very lucrative backgrounds. Either they studied at the Ivy League schools or have tutored for X amount of years or know this or know that. So it kind of puts the student or the parent that's looking for tutoring at a point where they have way too many options and they really don't know what's the right pick. So for us, we cut that out entirely, and we're the ones that match the student with the tutor based on a preset of requirements that we're instilling into our matching system, as well as our eventual product that we launch later down the line.
Sure. So I have a question for both of you guys, actually. So two things that I've kind of been through as an entrepreneur, as somebody who runs a social media marketing agency, is that I often see a lot of the times that personal issues and personal life issues sometimes play a big role in my performance within the company. So how do you guys deal with that?
Separate, man. You gotta find a way to, family is definitely important. Your personal life will have an effect, but if you cannot separate the two, and and that's one of the reasons we tried to, we got an office early on, which is not something I suggest, but it did help us orient ourselves that when we're in the office, when we come in, we're in work mode, we are in hustle mode. We cannot associate the two in terms of it affecting one another.
Sure.
So family, like I said, it's a huge thing for me personally. It's one of the biggest things, one of the most important things. But you have to find the time for each area of your life. And if you're trying to grow a business, if you're trying to grow a startup, this is
essential. Beyond essential.
Yeah.
It's all about time. So for me, I'll give a little different perspective. I agree with Ali, but sometimes you get people that motivate you. And like when we first started, I think it was back when you first started as well, and when I joined, we got a lot of like, you're crazy.
Okay.
I had a 10-year career in engineering that I left.
Yeah.
Like, I'm going to pursue this. You get a lot of people telling you you're an idiot. Like you are giving up a sure career for a big maybe, starting your own company and taking that risk.
Okay.
That was like a big motivator for me. I worked twice, 3 times as hard, not just to prove others wrong. I want to prove it to myself first and foremost. Right. But it doesn't help getting that little bit extra motivation.
Sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And for even for me personally, when Ali came on board, and obviously I'm not going to go to anyone and try to bring them on board if I didn't vet them and believe in their what they're going to bring to the table. So when I saw that Ali is an incredibly intelligent guy, an engineer who's worked in various different fields, to give up that career and join VRAM, it became a motivating factor for us, and it kind of made me look at my own company differently.
Okay.
And see that an engineer with this background, with this experience, has the trust or believes in the vision of VRAM. My vision, my belief, my motivation just shot 100 times through the roof. So it motivated him as well as it motivated us as the company. Of course.
But it's also very essential who you put on into your team as well.
Absolutely.
Because I've had people come on to my team who I thought would do great, honestly. But then, later on down the line, they just were not as motivated as I was. They just didn't want to pursue things as much as I wanted to pursue it. And that kind of puts you down in a way.
It does.
Yeah.
A lot of things are going to put you down when you start a business. And one of the things that you have to figure out is how to find the right people. And in a startup, everybody that you bring on kind of becomes like family.
Yep.
So if that person that you bring on isn't fitting in, maybe they're great, maybe they're incredibly smart, but they're not fitting in, then you got to cut them.
Of course. All right, so back to our point. How do you measure success for you guys? Because you guys have been doing this for a very long time. You guys have worked with parents, students, multiple people. You guys have worked with tutors, other businesses, investors. I mean, everything. You guys have done it all, I would say. So how do you guys measure success? When are you like, okay, this is kind of where I want to be at, and I'm proud of what I've done?
So I think for me, it's all about the expectation. Right?
Okay.
When we set out to do a new project or bringing on or partnering with a client or a school district, it's all about the expectation. What are we expecting to complete by a certain amount of time?
Okay.
We have to be a little bit realistic, right? Everybody wants to shoot for the moon, and you land where you land.
Right.
But setting up the right expectation and realistically, what do we think we can accomplish? At the end of the day, did we meet that objective? Okay, we might not gotten the most money that we could have out of that particular venture, but the primary objective was, we worked with a new client, we onboarded them, we demonstrated that we had an idea and we scaled it with an additional partner. That's one of those things that we can use to measure it. And sometimes it's, if we're working with like individual students and individual parents, did the student meet their goals, right? Their goal could be just
Yeah.
I just want to sharpen my skills, right? I already got straight A's, and I just want to keep improving and keep getting better. Other times it's, I have a test coming up, I need to pass it, right? So, the way we measure it is, or depending on who we're working on or working with, whether it's a larger school or individual students, that measure of success is different. For us as a business, that really depends, right? Because sometimes our goal is purely user growth.
Yep, of course.
Money becomes secondary. Other times it's like, okay, now we need a little bit more, focus a little bit more on money.
Okay.
So different phases of what do we need right now, and we tailor our measures of success based on that.
Understood.
Yeah, I agree with what AJ said. For me, it's happy parents, happy students, better grades.
Okay.
Happy parents because
that's a motto right there.
Yeah. Happy parents because they see that their student is progressing. What they're paying for is showing. There's result. They see the results, so that gives us something to consider, something to track. Happy students, they're happy with because no student wants to get tutoring, and it's a very a different perspective from a student side and a parent side. So we have to, even though they're both combined in the same service, we have to look at each one independently. So for us to see a happy student is that they really understand what they're being taught. They're coming to us, their parents are signing them up for tutoring because they're struggling in class or they want to get ahead, but there's something that they need to get better at. And they want to see that as a student. Today's students are, I want to say, very, very knowledgeable. They have access to everything. So when we get them in tutoring, we have to understand that, and we have to find a way to communicate that over to the student and show them that they are progressing. They are because of their effort, because of the their effort in tutoring. This is how they're progressing. This is how they're getting better. Mm-hmm. Better grades is really the ultimate KPI that we measure in terms of our business, because if they're a struggling student that failing a specific class, our goal is to have them pass. So if they go from an F to a B or F to an A, that's what we're looking for. That's what we're measuring. That measures success. Now, from all of those, I didn't say revenue because that's not at the moment in our business where we're trying to get to. Revenue is obviously incredibly important, but it's not something that's going to measure success.
Absolutely not.
It's not what drives your company.
Exactly. When I have parents referring other parents, when I have students talking about it, when I have school district superintendents trying to get in touch with us, that's what is showing me as a business owner and showing me as a startup founder that what we're doing is right.
Okay.
So I can have I can have a shitty product or a shitty service that I can market really, really well and make a lot of money from it. But is it sustainable? Is it going to be successful in 5-10 years? So
you want your name attached to it. That's the biggest thing.
Sustainability is huge. It's huge. To a certain extent, a lot of companies that start up, I would say every company fails at some point.
Yeah.
Okay, every single company, whether it's a huge startup that's gotten millions of dollars, at some point you're going to be seeing something go downhill. And that's why a lot of people sell their companies, simply because a lot of companies do go downhill and they're not able to sustain it as well as they would like to sustain it. So for new people who want to start companies and businesses and want to get into the entrepreneurial life, what do you guys recommend? Because I know you guys have been.
Do it. Like the just jump in.
So
head first.
It's that hard. I've always seen those like motivational posters where you have like this huge ladder and it says, "Don't worry about the top, just worry about that first step." The intimidation factor in entrepreneurship is real.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. It is scary to not even take the first step, think about taking the first step.
Yeah.
I went to school, not including high schools and whatever, right? College. I took 4 years of college. I worked for about 10 years in multiple fields, and I took a lot of different courses and training and whatever to get better at the craft. Mm-hmm. The first 4 or so months of me being involved with VRealm as an actual co-founder of that company and making business decisions, I learned more in that 4-month period than I have in the entirety of my college and my school career. Your frame of mindset changes. Before, the risk is not yours. When I was making decisions, when I was working for companies, that whatever risk I'm introducing is not mine.
Of course.
It's not affecting me. It's affecting the business owners, affecting the companies, but there's a huge staff that tries to mitigate that risk.
Yeah.
For us,
it's on us.
We're two people, and we're two people that make those business decisions, and we have, people working for us and with us, but that risk is entirely ours.
Yeah.
100% of it is ours. So the frame of mindset now, at least for me, it shifted.
Yeah.
Now I have to actually be more thoughtful of what is the risk.
Yeah.
And I have to take it. I have to say, yes, that is a risk that I am going to take as a company, as a business owner. Sometimes it pays off, sometimes it doesn't, but that's
a lot of times it doesn't.
Yeah.
And one of the things that you got to understand is that when you do take these risks, when you do make these tough decisions, and it doesn't work, you got to be okay with it.
You have to.
And if it fails and it kills your company, you have to understand that this is a possibility.
Yep.
I think, yes, entrepreneurship is intimidating, and at the same time, a lot of people push you to become an entrepreneur. The only issue I have with that is that sometimes it's painted as
Sky's blue.
an easy thing to get into, and you become a millionaire. One thing I want to point out is that when you look at movies, when you watch a movie about an entrepreneur or about a business owner, they always fast forward that tough period.
The grind.
The grind. That couple of, it's like,
that's
this
the boring part.
This is exactly, that's the boring
start
part.
working
That's
out.
the part
and
that nobody wants to do.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They put that, in a fast-paced format where you see that tough period is condensed in 3 minutes. In reality, that's 3 to 5 years. Your first 3 to 5 years of the business.
Of course.
What you do in that 5 minutes in the movie or 3 minutes in the movie is what shapes the outcome of the business.
Fully agreed.
When you look at that as a student, as someone who wants to become an entrepreneur, you have to understand that it's not 3 minutes, not 5 minutes, it's not a year, it's not 2, 3, even 5 years. It's what you do, what you focus on, what you lose sleep over in the first 3 to 5 years is what shapes the business. Now, I consider myself still to be new to business, but this is what I learned. I'm sure there are people who've been in business, who've had business for 10, 15 years, that might have a different opinion, but this is what I've seen in the last 3 years of me starting a business, of me going through that period, and where I still consider myself partly in that period. And honestly, for me, this is the fun part. Because every day it's a new challenge. Every day it's a new opportunity to learn. And it like AJ said, it's that mindset, the way that you think about facing challenges. It shifts and transitions into all different areas of your life. So if you're able to figure that out, if you're able to learn that skill of facing your challenges and finding creative ways to solve them, it's the most useful tool that you can have in your toolbox.
And it's very rewarding at the same time. It's extremely rewarding.
Absolutely.
And we go back to risk as well, and I can even argue that not even, going to a 9-to-5 job is a risk. Starting a company is a risk. Not starting a company is a risk. So you're always risking something. You just have to decide what you're exactly risking.
Yeah.
Right? So people are like, be worried about starting a business. There's a huge risk. Well, there's a huge risk if you don't as well. Where are you going to be working at? What are you going to do with your life? Every single decision that you make is, to a certain extent, a risk.
You have to do it for the right reason. If you're sitting there and be like, hey, I want to be super mega rich in the shortest amount of time.
Everybody wants that.
Everybody wants that. It doesn't happen.
And realistically, entrepreneurship is a way to get that, but it takes a long time for it to happen.
If you want to be super rich, go become a software engineer and you'll get hired on the spot out of school, or probably before school, and you'll become incredibly successful, and you will make a lot of money.
Yeah.
If you become that software engineer and then decide to start your own business, you need to know that you're not making that money in the first few years. You'll make a lot of money if it succeeds, but startups have a 90% chance of failing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it's all dependent on the person.
Absolutely.
Now let's go back to your guys' business. I'm really curious because you guys run a tutoring company. Okay, you guys are the heads of the tutoring company, so you guys are able to see kind of what people are thinking, what the students are thinking, and you're really interacting with the students and the parents and understanding their pain points and really what they need and want. So what is your opinion on the whole entire school system? And do you guys kind of agree with it? Because
that's a full
loaded question.
That is a
right
very
there.
loaded question because
Well,
Who wants to take the
so
bait?
I'll take a stab at it. All right, I'll give you my opinion on what I think about the school system. I'm an immigrant to this country.
yeah.
Right. I grew up. I didn't grow up. I grew, born in Iraq, lived there for about first and second grade time frame, and then we moved
Yep.
to Syria. Lived there for about 6 years. And I came here. The school system, in my eyes, in the United States is incredibly successful.
Yep.
Because I have a worse experience, right? I always hear that the information that I was taught in Syria, for example, and Iraq was harder than it is here. But you get a higher chance of succeeding in that education in the U.S. I know that's not a very popular view, right? People look at the United States. If you look at the world index of where does the U.S. education system rank, we're not that high, as you would expect from a first world country.
Of course.
And that's understandable. We're a very, very, very big country with very diverse, right? 300 some million people live in this country through a very vast geographic distance and different backgrounds. So yeah, it's going to be incredibly hard to scale a large education system to become worldwide, right? Like recognized as one of the best. I think there's a lot of positives in the U.S. education system. With that said, the negatives are hard to solve because I think we as a society in the United States and a school system in general, there's a lot of effect on profits of third-party companies that we let affect the success rate of students and the quality of education that you get. One of those things is implementation of new technologies. I think the school system is incredibly outdated, and it might have worked for the 200 some years that it existed, right? You learn out of a textbook, you have somebody talking to you and teaching you something.
Of course.
But we're in a very, very rapidly advancing world.
And you guys capitalized on that too, from what I'm understanding.
Yeah. So that was
Big
our
time.
intent, is that we saw that the U.S. school system is good. It's producing workforce at scale, very large. The problem with it is right now, the way we see it is there's a lot of technologies coming in from all over the world.
Yep.
And the workforce that you're going to be working in as a graduate expects you to know these things. But the school system doesn't teach it. So our role at VRealm, on top of tutoring, is to provide you that tutoring, provide you that education in a manner that you would expect of a modern technology company.
Yep.
We're implementing things like neuroscience assessments, figure out how you learn, what type of things you like to learn, how do you like to learn them.
Yep.
What type of teacher might work well with you. So implementing that type of thing, implementing concepts like how do we experience in VR, right? Virtual reality, augmented reality, learning from your phone and your computer at the same time rather than just a live person talking to you. Those things are very, very challenging for the school system to implement because it's so large. For us, it's a little bit easier because
we get the people that are open to this.
So
and like you said, the school system has not changed for the last 100, 200 years. And that's, when you look at it, it's a problem. And there are a lot of solutions being introduced, but they're not really solutions for the core problem.
Yeah.
I always say that the schools are always introducing new tools, but they're not changing or adapting the medium.
Of course.
The medium is still the same. How they learned 100 years ago is how students are learning today. Mm-hmm. When COVID hit and there's a virtual transition for schools, exactly, they didn't change the way they were teaching, although there's a new medium now. The medium of the teacher using Zoom, using Meets to teach has changed from being in person, but the way that they're teaching students is still the same. It's you're reading, and there are a lot of great teachers out there, and I personally know incredibly creative teachers, because a lot of teachers are finding creative ways to help students learn in their own way, in a personalized approach, because you have to understand how much distraction today's students are facing, and how much is being influenced for them to use different tools, different technology, social media platforms to keep them distracted. But again, going back to that virtual transition, when the medium changed, the teachers are still teaching by lecturing.
Okay.
They're reading off of presentation slides, just like they were reading off of presentation slides in the classroom. And that's a problem, because the student now has another barrier, which is the computer screen in front of them, where when they were bored in the classroom, they still had to sit down and listen. There wasn't anything that was distracting them or a barrier. Now there's a screen, and when you put a screen in front of a student, and if you're not engaging them in the teaching process or how you want them to learn, students are incredibly smart. They have a device in their pocket that can answer any question that they have better than any teacher can. And we can get into the whole ChatGPT conversation later, but today, 2023, students have the ability to get an answer, an incredibly well-structured answer in less than a second.
Yep.
So if you don't understand that as a school system, and if you don't use this, it's going to be very difficult to get students to a point where they're graduating and they are ready to enter the workforce. They are not just when they graduate high school and go into college, when they graduate college and go into the workforce, they are going to fall behind, and it's going to interrupt a lot of the business operation, a lot of the qualifications of graduates, and it's going to lead students to find alternative pathways, to find that education that qualifies them and gets them ready for that job that they're looking to get.
So I have a point in that, working in, like, the students are falling behind when they enter the workforce. I used to work for government, and one of the facilities that you could possibly work in is a secured facility, right? You can't have personal devices on you when you go in. There was a challenge that we were facing. The younger kids that are just graduating college, right? It's their first time into the workforce. They're being asked to leave their phone outside when they enter these spaces. We had like 10 to 15%, and then this is a very localized number of the people that we've hired that weren't okay with that. They wanted to leave. Like, that's not an environment they want to work in.
Of course.
And a lot of the older generation, they get annoyed by that, because it's like these kids nowadays, they don't have an attention span and they're not as smart as we were. I have a huge problem with that. I think if you fully agree, one of the student of today's generation, compare them to somebody from an older generation at that age, today's kids are like much light years smarter.
Of course.
I mean, they're exposed to much more information.
Yeah.
And your information 100 years ago or 50 years ago was when you get a newspaper, or when you turn on your TV and get some sort of information passed over to you. Now you get information every second, every minute, every time you
and it's condensed,
anywhere.
Right?
Very
it's
condensed.
Like,
now, one thing I say, and you're gonna like this, is that I believe if the school system, and I'm gonna be very broad about it, if the school system or the teachers operate as advertisers, we would see a very successful very successful outcome, because advertisers look into you and find everything you care about and personalize and tailor the content to grab your attention.
Yep.
And highlight your pain points and ultimately push you to make a decision. And, you're obviously familiar with it. It's the call to action.
Of course.
So what is the call to action for today's teachers or today's students? They're getting all of this, by the way, outside of the classroom. They're getting personalized material, personalized content, email, social media, Google, wherever they are on digitally.
Yep.
Everyone is personalizing their experience. Apple, one of the biggest examples. Your iPhone is completely personalized to you. And that's why Apple became such a successful company, is because of the way that things are designed, how the device, the apps, how things are designed to the user, making their experience incomparable to any other device.
Of course.
So if students were taught in this way, with a call to action, with a personalized manner, in a way that's tailored to their individual needs, we would see a different outcome.
Huge difference. Huge difference.
So most recently we saw the national report card came out, and a lot of big districts that are known to rank high, have dropped significantly. Although a lot of funding was pushed from the government to support the school districts. A lot of new tools were introduced. And we still saw a big drop.
Of course. Yep.
So that kind of tells you, is it the new tools that we're introducing, or is it the way we're teaching?
And you guys know the answer to that one, definitely.
Yeah, I had a mentor that told me something very, very early on in my career. You keep hearing about critical thinking in the workforce. You have to be a critical thinker and think outside the box, but you don't really know what it means. So one of the analogies that he told me is that it takes 9 months to make a baby. Okay. What happens if you put 5 or 6 women into the problem? Does the 9-month number change? No. Right? So what the school system is doing is throwing more women at the 9 months to make a baby. It's not changing, right? You're throwing technologies and to be introduced into the education. You're throwing more money, and you're trying to pull resources, but the core problem is that school's boring. Right? The student's attention is it's hard to grab.
It was boring 100 years ago. It's boring today.
Here's the thing too, with the new age of social media, you have things like 15-second shorts, TikTok,
short-form content.
Short-form content that's creating or allowing people to have ADHD. So people back then, when they didn't have ADHD, are now using their phones and developing ADHD, so they're not able to pay attention to something that's not actively moving, to something that's kind of just still.
Yeah, I agree on that point. It's not necessarily about ADHD. It's about that dopamine pump that student or users of social media platforms get.
Of course.
When they see short form content, they're continuing to fuel that
dopamine
to that
spike.
feeling. They want that feeling to continue, so they'll always check their phone. They're always going to be looking for more content.
Yeah.
It's how you position the teaching approach. It's how you position your teaching framework. If it includes things that are going to engage the student and it's going to influence them to want more, to get more. I don't want to say it's an addiction, but it's a way for them to be engaged in the learning process, so that continues with them down the line. Now, as a system, as an education system, can you guarantee that the way I get taught in 8th grade is going to be the same way I get taught in 9th grade? Can you guarantee that what I get taught in 9th grade is going to be the same as what I will get taught in 10th grade, and so on? No, because every grade level you're being introduced to different teachers that have different frameworks that can say they're all working under that same umbrella, but it's still different, and it's still not really around the students. I don't want to say that because there are a lot of great teachers out there again, but majority of the students are not experiencing something engaging year after year.
Okay.
Maybe, and that's why when you look back, you can always point out that one teacher, right?
Yeah.
That one teacher that made a difference, and what they said or what they did was, it got stuck in your mind. Then you can always recall that because it's that one experience. What if that one experience was shared across all the schools, all the teachers? It'll be a different outcome.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
ESL for me. I had an ESL teacher in like 9th grade. Yeah. And I always look back. Like, my wife always asks me, how did you like be really good at English and lose your accent and everything? It was that one teacher in like a very short amount of time.
Yeah.
Mine was late. Mine was in college, man. I had a college professor, writing English professor, who always made us present our writing in front of the whole class.
Okay.
And I'd always tell him, like, why do we need to do that? If it's a paper, why am I presenting it? He was like, because when you write something, you have to be comfortable
saying it,
talking about it. And if you're not comfortable, then it's not good writing. So it kind of stuck with me. I don't know if it was the right way, but it stuck with me to always write in a way that I can share and talk about and not make it sound very, sticks and stones and direct.
And that's why, I mean, I read a few of your blogs, actually, a few guys' blogs, and when I read the writing and I speak it out loud, it all makes sense. I could just imagine you
glad.
Talking about that.
That's the goal.
Yeah.
He's the executive director of reviewing all the blogs.
Okay.
My own blog.
Yeah. Whoever that teacher is, man, he made my life incredibly hard.
Okay.
All the stuff he gives me. Oh, you didn't write this well enough.
AJ writes like an engineer, man. It's the most. Never
bullet
ask
points.
Him. Never ask him.
How do you write then?
What?
How do you write then?
Honestly, I write. I don't stop writing my drafts. Like, if it's the first draft, I'm gonna let it
marinate and continue. Yeah.
And then I look back, and then I would like read it to myself and kind of see if what I'm writing actually makes sense to me, and then I would look at it from the reader's point of view.
Okay.
To see what if I was a student or I'm a parent and I'm reading this. Does it make sense does it resonate with me? Okay. And then I try to not really edit my draft as much, just because I tend to, if I start editing heavily, I'm going to edit heavily. And if it's a blog, I want it to sound conversational. I want it to sound less formal. I don't want it to be a research paper.
I agree. And the creator of that one tool, remember the book that I showed you, 10 times market hacking formula? Yeah. So the author of the book created a tool, and one of his arguments was saying that, he creates blogs, he gives free value to people, and then connects his company to the actual blogs to bring traffic into his company. So his argument is he never goes back and makes his team change anything, even if there was a typo, mistake, anything like that. And he's gotten people ridicule him. You're basically talking to him and saying, hey, I mean, why are you not doing this? And his argument was that it would take him, it's much more beneficial for his time to go and create another blog than going back and edit. And that's the 10 times market hacking formula put into play, because he's saying, this is going to make me 10 times more than I'm making right now.
Absolutely.
And I'm working on things that is in the future going to make me more, more money or give me more traffic.
Bigger return than going back and editing.
Exactly.
But then because blogs as a concept is you're sharing information to everyone.
Yeah.
So whoever is looking for something or wants to research something, it's not a formal platform in general, not a formal medium.
Of course.
For me, I'm not going to submit this for a grant or a proposal. So I write how I write, and I hope it resonates, and I consider the reader, and see how it plays. There are a lot of blogs that don't get any views or get very few views, which is okay. It's for me, it's better than everything working. So I get to see what's not working so I can avoid in the future.
Okay.
I never read blogs in my life.
Really?
Like, I've never read anything blog related.
Ali's Reddit.
Okay, you're a Reddit guy. That's
big
what it
Reddit
is.
guy. Short form content.
Okay.
He likes threads.
But after joining here and starting to like see the importance of it, I'm starting to pay a lot more attention to them. Like one of the first things I do when I see like a new company or a new website, I read their blogs.
Okay.
It really tells you the insight of
what's
the company.
going on and builds a lot more trust as well. Now, speaking of trust, you guys have, I mean, I've been working with you guys for quite a while right now, and I've known you guys for quite a while, and your guys' message really is going against people who say don't go to school or don't worry about school to a certain extent. Okay.
Right.
Now, obviously, there's some classes or courses that would, now school's not for everyone, and we can all agree with that. But then, for example, there's individuals that are saying, get out of school and take my course. And they're building this thing for the children of nowadays to say, and kind of agree with who they look up to and say, okay, I don't care about school. I'm going to take this guy's course, and that's going to be my school, and I'm going to do much better in life. How do you guys kind of feel about that?
Short form answer?
Sure.
Bullshit.
Okay.
Scam.
Nice.
I don't think that's... AJ has a couple of thoughts on that, and I think what I think is that, and I always tell my brother this, is that school, let's say college.
Okay.
When you finish high school, you have a choice. Go to college or don't.
Okay.
Technically, you can get a close, I don't want to say exactly the same, education in an alternative path rather than going to college. What you have to think about as a student is that college is the toolbox.
Okay.
And you have a bunch of tools in there that can shape your career, can shape your future, your business, whatever you decide to get into. Mm-hmm. You have to be smart. I don't want to say smart enough, but you have to be smart to a certain extent that when you enter college, you at least have an idea of what you want to do, and then make your decisions based off of that.
Okay.
If I want to start a business, there are going to be a lot of opinions. College advisors. Me personally, if I were to go back to college, I would not listen to any advisor.
Absolutely.
There are a lot of great advisors, but in my personal experience, what I was advised was different from what was in my best interest.
Okay.
What was in my best interest is for me to be exposed to different things, different domains, subject domains.
Yep.
I would have wanted to be introduced to engineering and software development and business and all of that, where I was narrowed to only taking classes that fit my
criteria or
checklist, I call it. My checklist. And there are things that were irrelevant. When I went into college, I was a pre-med student that I graduated as a neuroscience major. But what I would have wanted is that I should have been exposed, because I'm paying all this money to be exposed. I should have been exposed to different domains where I would have made better decisions. Now, I was on track for med school. I wanted to be a doctor since I was a kid. Since we came to the States. I wanted to be a doctor. After things happened, after whatever, when I was in my senior year of college, VROM, the idea sparked, everything happened very quickly. My whole career plan completely shifted to something that I would have never considered. I would have never thought I'd start my own business and leave my job and not go to med school. And imagine coming from a Arab family when you tell your mom you're not going to be a doctor.
Oh, man.
Surprisingly, she was very supportive of me, but I was not prepared. I had to get this education, the business education, outside of college. Because when I was in college, I didn't have the guidance to expose me to all these different things. So if you go into college, go for it. There you can take any class you want. You can meet any professor you want and make the greatest connections, because most startup founders, if you're trying to recruit co-founders, one of the best places to start is in your college. Who's a software engineer in your class? Who's a marketing expert?
You can get crazy connections.
Exactly. So you have to decide how you want college to play out.
Of course.
You want it to be that place where I build my network. It's a great place to build your network. If you want it to be that place where you expand on whatever field you want to expand on, go for it. Take the classes. If you're interested in a very specific subject, take one class and see if this resonates. Yeah. Don't limit yourself to that checklist. That's my only advice to college students.
So
I agree.
I'll expand on that a little bit. First of all, the original question is, what do you think about people, telling you, don't go to college, take my course?
Oh, God.
Completely agree with Heidi. Yeah. Bullshit. My frame of mind changed a while ago. I used to think that, come out of high school, you should know exactly what you want to do, and you should commit to it, and you have 4 years and do it, and, you have a plan, a track, follow it, and go out and execute. Nowadays, I don't think that's the right approach. The notion that at 18, I have the mental capacity to decide the rest of my life is insane.
It's crazy, too.
I don't even decide what I eat, let alone decide my entire life at 18, right? And commit to a career and a college track.
That's the thing. Most students, when they commit. They cannot leave. Otherwise, they have to restart the whole entire thing.
It's looked at as failure.
They trap you, and they trap you within this.
Especially
if
you're getting aid, like financial aid, or you're getting some sort of support financially, then you are actually limited to what you can take.
Absolutely.
And that gets into a deeper conversation. But if you want to take a class outside of your major or your path, you're not going to get support. You're not going to get financial aid for it.
Yeah.
So that kind of traps you. And I want to say, if you're taking loans, if you're taking whatever, it doesn't matter, man. You're already going to be in debt. So take advantage of what you can take advantage of.
Yeah. So that whole concept of getting ready for college, I think you should go to college, right? Do not put this notion out there that not going to college is a good track. It could be for some people. Trade schools.
Yeah.
One of the best examples. Great careers, right? Welders, whatever, all these different plumbing, all these different trade schools. If you're really into that and something that you're passionate about and you love to do and you love working with your hand, go for it. It's a great career, and it's supported by, hundreds of years of worth of data, and it pays well. It's a good track. If you like it, you like it.
Yep.
If you're innately good, programmer, right? You'll go to school, you'll learn something, right? You'll improve on that skill. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, if you're able to land a gig based on your current experience, you'll still also expand your knowledge that way. And I've worked, different tracks, and I've worked with really good developers that did not go to college.
And that's the thing about you guys. You guys are extremely transparent, even with the parents, with the students, very transparent. Yeah. If that's the crazy thing. You can't really, if you ever lie about something, you're gonna get caught. You cannot fake lying at all. So you guys build your brand on transparency. And here I am. I mean, it's kind of a test almost, where I asked you guys, what do you guys think about the school system? Anybody in your place, they'd have been like, man, we love the school system, whatever. You guys are just very transparent.
It doesn't matter, man. At the end of the day, if we're building a business on dishonesty and we're faking our way through it, how far or how long can we fake it?
Not very far at all. Not very far at all. Not so as far as this.
If we're still a young startup, considered a young startup, everything I'm saying today, somebody with much more experience can come in and say that they have a completely different opinion or can debate what I think. They can be right.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is what I feel and what I have experienced.
And what's working for you too.
As of today.
Yeah.
I may have a different perspective in 5 years. But in terms of transparency, I'm going to say what I feel based on what I've experienced as of today. Mm-hmm. So with parents, I'm transparent. AJ's transparent. AJ doesn't really like talking to parents, but in really, even our sales team, even our marketing, even our message, what we try to show as our voice of the brand is really transparency.
Of course.
If your kid is failing, and they have a test that's going to determine their pass-fail state in a couple of weeks, I'm going to be honest with you and not sell you, because I don't think by taking a few tutoring sessions, you're going to go from an F to passing your class in
right.
4 or 5 sessions. You know, it's impossible.
Absolutely. And then
we can do our best to guide you. We can do our best to show you different strategies, but we cannot sell you and tell you that we're going to change your life and push the magic button and it's going to change everything based on you working with us. Yeah. Mm-hmm. It hurts us more than it benefits us, because they're going to come back to me and tell me what the hell happened.
Yep. And then it goes back to sales as well, because I love sales with a passion. I love selling. I love speaking to people. I love, sales psychology. It goes back to that same exact system where transparency is a huge part of selling. For example, if let's say you're talking to a parent and then they're like on their phones, they're not paying attention, you're gonna say something along the lines of, "Hey, I mean, should we reschedule, or are you still into this?" Just transparency, goes a long way, and it saves you the hassle of having to go around in circles and just not get to the point, if that makes sense.
Yeah, remember, like when you came on board, one of the first things that that struck with us is that you said you were very transparent in how your work is going to be reflected in terms of us getting leads or getting more sales or growing specific product lines. Your transparency helped us as a customer at that point in bringing your company to support our marketing.
Yeah.
So that was something that, as we were you were customer transparent, and at the same time we really appreciated that, because every marketing firm that we talked to or every marketing agency we brought on board promised us the world.
Crazy things.
I'll go back to the question you asked very, very early on, like, what is your experience of being an entrepreneur?
Yeah.
The worst things about it, you are constantly being pitched everything by everyone. Like, it's as simple as like meeting somebody for like a quick lunch.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden it turns into a sales pitch. I'm like, dude, I just thought I'm getting
even
lunch.
As somebody who is pitching, okay, I get pitched. I get pitched. So people come to me, they're like, "Hey, we have this crazy course, this crazy class of very focused people." And I'm like, "Okay, good for you, man. what do you want me to do?"
One time we got invited to go out and meet an investor.
Okay.
Right? And then we were like, "Hey, this is an investor. He's really interested in your company and what you guys are doing."
We were all prepped, and we stayed up the night.
Yeah.
Like,
this was
sure
like,
we have a pitch day.
It was within like 4 or 5 days.
Yeah.
And we're like, "Oh, okay. What's his background? What does he want to do?" We did a lot of research on him.
Investor.
And we prepped this whole, presentation deck. And we're like, all right, we're going to go. And this is the focus of our pitch deck. This is where we want to go with our company. Like 5 minutes into the meeting, somehow he did like this reverse Uno card. And then he started pitching us.
To go
I was like, hey,
accelerator.
you guys should like join my program in the accelerator program, and you should pay me money. Like, this is.
Wait,
I don't mind.
Wait a minute.
I was like, what happened?
I don't have an issue with accelerator programs, but like, when did this change?
I don't like accelerator programs.
I have. We are in an accelerator right now. We're in the new chip accelerator.
Okay.
Honestly, we found it to be very valuable in terms of resources and guidance.
Okay.
Like they give you, like for us, they gave us access to this whole mentoring platform where we can connect with any mentor in our industry and a specific vertical.
Yeah.
So they can just do so much, really. It's not YC, you're not at Y Combinator, but at the same time, you're still kind of you have to do it because there are like monthly meetings and you have to be prepped for them. So it puts you on that
on the pedestal.
Exactly. Yeah, you have to do the work.
And the only thing I don't like about accelerator programs is that some of them, I can't speak for all, but some of them will teach you it's either my way or the highway. So they're gonna be like, okay, you do it this way, And if it's not working for you, it's your fault. And I'm like, okay, but this way works better for me. They're like, nah, do it this way.
It depends on what you're trying to get out of it.
That's right?
Exactly. If
it's like going to college again.
Yeah. Basically, man. Basically.
Yeah. Dude, there's no difference. Honestly, like that whole stigma of tutoring is only if you're failing.
Untrue.
Is like so false.
Some of our biggest, our part of our biggest student base are students with almost all straight A's.
Yeah.
And then a lot of people find this incredibly surprising. And I found when I first, was put on a sales call for a student with a parent that is trying to get a tutor for the student, and the student is, and I asked what's the subject that they're struggling with. Do they have a history of struggling with the subject? And the mom was like, no, she's not actually struggling. She has an A in the class. And I was like, is she struggling in any other class? She's like, no, she actually has straight A's and had straight A's for a really long time. And this is part of her, this is her as a student.
Yeah.
So I was like, why do you need tutoring? And this sparked, by the way, a whole different approach in our tutoring program and an audience. But basically, her need was that she wanted somebody to continuously support her student. So when the time came and her student needed support, she wouldn't have to go ahead and find a tutor and then have to find the right tutor that can personalize the sessions for her kids' needs. Yeah. So for me, I was like, wow.
Yeah,
prepping your kids for the ultimate success.
And not only that, even adults, I would say. Yeah. I'm not gonna say they require tutoring. I'm thinking
training.
Was that your point?
Job training.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
I took so it depends on some of my jobs required 95 hours every 2 years of training that I had to go out and learn new things. Doctors. Yeah. Your recertifications if you're on a certification track. Continuous education is a real thing. It's in the workforce. It happens to everyone. So the fact that if your job is a student, right, you need on-the-job training, which in this case, this is supplemental continuous education, which is tutoring. So, the whole accelerator concept, if you're in it to go, hey, they're going to take my business from, this revenue range and 10x it, in 6 months, not going to happen. But you are going to meet other businesses that are around the same startup time as you are. You're going to build a great network and meet a lot of people. You're going to get a couple of resources to kind of help you along. And you get to practice. You get tutoring.
An accelerated MBA program.
Okay, that's what it is.
Accelerated business school.
Yeah.
You can make the most out of it. Based on what you put into it, they're not going to change your life.
Can I ask you something?
Yeah. Are you the host?
What do you think about MBA, like in general? Like if somebody goes, I don't know, this is D2. Like the general concept of...
Are we talking like Harvard MBA?
Any MBA, Harvard,
I don't...
We'll go into the...
I think it preps you to become an employee, not a founder. Yeah. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's just that if you're putting your bet on an MBA program to prep you to become a startup founder or an entrepreneur, certain areas, yes. As a whole, no.
Yeah. I found a lot of people when I was
working. It's called Masters of Business Administration. Yeah. So it prepares you to administer things. Yeah. But going through the shit and facing the challenges that entrepreneurs, startup founders face, it doesn't prep you. Now, if you have an MBA, and you can bring any MBA student, and I can ask them, did your MBA program prep you to do the full work that you're doing today? It's not. It can prep you to a certain extent, but it's not. Now, if you have an MBA and you have experience, and now you decide to start your own business, of course, these are assets that you have to utilize. But it's not. I don't care for us to hire somebody in our business.
Yep.
An MBA is not a requirement.
Of course.
The only requirement for us is that if we're hiring tutors outside this, because you have to understand we have two different sets of recruiting. We recruit tutors that provide the educational services, educational support services, and then we have employees of the business. So our tutors are contractors, and our employees are employees of the business.
Full time. Yeah.
So for you to be an employee of the business, we don't care. One of the best software engineers that we had, I actually have known for quite some time, it does not have a degree. Not have a degree, and is probably one of the smartest people I know. For us to bring on people based on qualifications, in terms of having specific degrees or diplomas or certifications, it looks good.
Yep.
But we can all say this, and I'm sure AJ has a ton more of experience in this line, but how many people do we know that look so great on paper? And then you know them because you know them personally. They, like, I wouldn't hire a lot of my friends.
Yeah, yeah.
Screw you, man.
No, man. No, but in reality, a lot of people can look good. It's like your social media your resume is your Instagram profile for businesses.
Yep.
Just add a grid and add things. You're showing off.
Yeah, exactly.
Sit down in an interview, and that's why I swear I don't go by those ATS systems to review resumes and then generate things. And you can ask AJ. I go through each resume I get for any position that we open. I limit, there's just so much I can go through, but I go through almost all of them, and I label them, and I go through the actual things that stand out to me, not on not from an educational level or from an experience level. It's just that I want to see who am I gonna interview. In the interview, when I'm having a conversation, and tutors or employees, I interview everyone.
Okay.
I try AJ does the same. We try to interview everybody from a leadership position, because these are people that are joining our business. And if I'm delegating this, I definitely have to delegate later down the line. But in that early stage, if I'm delegating to somebody else and I'm trusting them to, make the decision to bring somebody in that is going to affect the scalability of my business, it's tough. So I have to sit down, and I have to have a conversation, and I have to learn more about them on a personal level, and then get into the technicals and the technical background and what they can provide. And it's a facade. Your resume is a facade.
Yep. And
you can make it look great. And with the different AI resume writing tools that are out there, everybody is qualified. Everybody's a Harvard. Everybody can be as qualified as a Harvard grad. Yeah. So I don't know. In my opinion is, you have to be very careful with making decisions specifically on resumes.
So I wanted to talk about something real quick about you mentioned Harvard a lot in your thing in the monologue. I don't even remember what the question was asked. One of the things that really bugs me is when people talk about college education and how much it costs. If you can afford a Rolex, buy a Rolex. But if you can't, there's nothing wrong with a Casio, right? So the concept of I have to go to college, I have to have $500,000 saved up. If you can afford the $500,000, absolutely, go to Ivy Leagues. Great education, great history. You'll make great connections, and you'll look good on any resume. But you'll get a comparable education, a good education, almost anywhere.
Exactly.
And at any state school. And matter of fact, a lot of people that I've worked with did the 2-2 route, 2 years of community college.
That's what I did.
Yeah. I didn't know that. I still fight with my parents about this because
they didn't know that.
Well, they didn't know that, but I met a couple of people in high school that said, "Yeah, we're going to go to a community college for the first 2 years and transfer to transfer to VCU." Right, this is where I lived, Richmond. And I was like, "Okay, well, that sounds cool. I'll do that." And I went to my parents and I told them, "Hey, I want to go to this community college," and they thought of it as a bad thing. Yeah. And they were like, "No, you're not doing that," because I don't think they knew.
Well, because from our back, community colleges back home, it's a different thing. than what it is
here.
ballpark,
absolutely.
Yeah.
Because community college back home is like it's training. If you go there, if you can't get into college.
So you guys are both from Iraq, including me.
Yeah.
So how do you guys resonate with kind of the Arabs in this area, and how do you build trust with? Because a lot of the people that you do actually work with that do come back, your returning customers, are actually just people who are either referrals or people who have just been there for a very long time. So you have very, very, very loyal customers or very loyal clients. How do you guys do that, and how does that relate to your culture?
In terms of
just building trust with them.
I mean, I try to separate my personal life from my business as much as possible, but in that early stages, you really can't.
Yeah.
In terms of because you're trying to grow, you're trying to get the word out, and you have to start off by using that that first network.
Yeah.
The people that you know, family and friends and things like that. I mean, we are introverted individuals. I can say this. I don't know about AJ, but I can say he's an engineer. So yeah.
Okay, so that's kind of in his personality.
It's in his education.
I think I grew out. I don't know.
Grew out of it.
I think so.
You have more friends now. No, but me personally, I don't know how, but building trust is, for me to trust you, is tough, because I've had experiences where I gave trust pretty quickly, and it
backfired.
Yeah, exactly.
Assuming,
Exactly. So I don't. I have a few people that are close to me. There's very, very few people that know deep those deep dark secrets.
Yeah.
Probably just my mom, honestly.
Skeletons in the closet.
My skeletons, but in reality, I have a small friend circle.
Yeah.
And everybody else is, very hi hello type of relationship.
Yeah.
I
love
still question
everybody,
that all the time.
Yeah, I mean, it's for me, I don't like that. I want to say irrelevant relationship.
Yeah.
Like if you're my friend, we will go out. We conversate about things we like, and I want to get value out of my conversation with you as a friend. I don't want to go and talk
whatever
shit or hear irrelevant things. In our culture, this is very common and very popular.
Beyond common.
Yeah, so it's something that you have to find a way to mitigate and make sure that it doesn't affect your business.
See, have you ever been the bad guy for just not wanting or not having the time to hang out with your friends or seeing people?
Oh, you're always the bad guy.
You're always the bad guy. Man,
especially after this, after having your own company, and it sucks up a lot of time.
Well, they think it's an ego thing, or they think it's that,
That's
but it's
what
not.
it is.
I mean, I wish I can hang out, but I have to do payroll at 12 a.m. or 1 a.m. or I have to go make sure I onboard a new employee. Like the other day, he sent me an email, did you onboard this guy? And I'm like, dude, I'm trying to onboard him. It's just 2 a.m. right now.
Man, the amount of times I have been the bad guy for just focusing on things.
You have to be okay
being
the bad guy.
Well, I mean, yeah.
In any way, are you the bad?
To myself,
do you think you're the bad guy?
Absolutely not.
Are you doing anything to harm anyone?
No, I am not.
If this is the image that is perceived by other people, honestly, it doesn't matter.
So be it.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah, completely agree with that. Well, thank you guys for coming on. I really definitely appreciate it. All of your website is going to be down in the description. I mean, anybody who's watching this, these guys are great. They have a great team on the back end. There's some very smart tutors, and you guys have been doing this for a very, very long time. So anybody watching, man, you need some tutoring. You're a parent. These guys are the guys to go to.
Appreciate it.
And yeah, I'll link everything in the description, and we'll stay in touch for sure.
All right, man. Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you so much.
It was fun.
Thank you so much.
All right.